Hello, this is Jonathan Soulen, and welcome to the Soul Train. This is episode 6. We will dive into my great grandparents. We'll start with Louis Soulen. Louis Soulen had a very difficult young life and a difficult young adulthood. But he would eventually form with his wife Marjorie a very strong household, faithful household that would provide the environment that played a large part in convincing my grandfather, Harold Solon, that he would become a Methodist minister. So hop on board the Soul Train. So Louis Solon was born in 1873. He would be the last child born uh, to his father, Gert Solon, and his mother, Joanna T. Heinen. When he was born into the family, the firstborn, his oldest brother, George Solon, would have already fled the household to join an opera company at the age of 12 due to the abusive um, treatment that he got from his father, Gert Solon. So it was a very difficult start for Louis in the Solon household. In 1879, Gert Solon would file for divorce and effectively abandon Joanna and the children to poverty. Joanna would take her children eventually and move to Joplin, Missouri, where she was there for a while, and eventually settle in Galena, Kansas. So let's take a quick look at a map. Lewis was born here in Ottawa, Kansas, just outside of Kansas City, and then they would move south to Galena, Kansas, where he would really live for the rest of his life. So let's just talk a little bit about Galena, Kansas. Galena was a mining town. It was incorporated in 1877 when the discovery of lead and zinc led to a mining rush. And it was a mining town in the worst sense in every way. There were brothels, red light districts, fights, feuds, all kinds of bad behavior in Galena, Kansas. So, in the midst of this mining boomtown craziness, Louis Solon would meet and marry Marjorie Faust. Look at this amazing wedding photograph, I believe. Now, Louis was 19 and Marjorie was 15 years old. Their marriage would start out with difficulty. Their first child would die the same day that it was born. Henry Lewis would die the very same day. 2 years later, they would give birth to Porter Solon. And Porter Solon, as a young child, had a teething issue. They called the doctor. The doctor lanced the gum of this little baby, and the baby then bled to death. So their marriage started off with tragedy and heartbreak. So, how did Lewis do it? How did Lewis and Marjorie do it? Lewis overcoming, breaking the cycle of a cruel father, an abusive father. They needed to overcome the tragedy and heartbreak of losing their first two children. Well, I think they did it with the support of their mother, for one. I think Marjorie was a very strong spouse, which we will see. But also, it turns out the Methodist Church was a source of strength for them. And they were strong leaders in the church. Take a look at this photo here of them at a Methodist retreat. At this point, they had been able to have children. The oldest was Dora and Uncle Jake. And my grandfather, baby Harold, is probably 2 to 3 years old, I think, in this photo. We have some other articles to share of their participation in the Christmas service, as well as this article here about them going to a Methodist leadership meeting. And so the Methodist Church was really truly a part of their lives. Thankfully, newspapers printed everything. And it was truly the way that people spread news. I'm going to share just a few articles that tell you a little bit more about Louis Soulen as a man. This update in 1910, updating on his operation in the mines and the type of ore he's bringing up. And that's where he would get his wealth. In 1914, he spoke at the Methodist Church on the value of teamwork in winning men. So that gives you a good idea of who he was as a leader. He would also be nominated by the Republican Party. And as a reminder, the Republican Party in Kansas at that time was truly still the party of Abraham Lincoln. Here are two photos of the Louis Soulen family home in Galena. As mining towns go, there's a boom and there's a bust. And so it would be with Louis Soulen's business. The story is that their mining operation hit an underground river, and the vast majority of their equipment was lost. But as we close with Louis Soulen, I'd just like to go to his obituary. I'll show it here. The death of Louis Soulen, retired mine operator, but perhaps more importantly, the father of the Reverend Harold Louis Soulen. So Louis Soulen was able to enjoy several years of being proud of his son, leading congregations in the Methodist Church. So Louis Soulen, such a difficult life to start off with an abusive father, the tragic loss of his two children, but a life of consistent faith and service. So Louis Soulen, a life well lived. So that concludes our episode on Louis Soulen. Next on the Soul Train, his wife and life partner, Marjorie Faust. I will tell you, I knew very little about Marjorie before I began my research. But I will tell you, the more I know about her, the better I like her. So next on the Soulen Train, we'll see you then.
State of Arkansas, where my great-grandpa met my great-grandma. They drink apple cider and they get on a jag, and they dance all night to the salty dog rag. They play an old fiddle like you never heard before. They play the only tune that they ever did know. It's a ragtime ditty and the rhythm don't drag. Now here's the way you dance to the salty dog rag.